watching.
Hello. Well, we are still talking. Well, you know, this is television where things happen, and we have spoken. We're talking about Nigeria today. It seems like it is the month and is the day that you just can't avoid Nigeria, the most populous black nation with more than 167 million people. Well, we have spoken earlier. We spoke with somebody from the northern part of Nigeria, presumably one of the most populous state as well in the northern part of Nigeria, Kano. And then, of course, there's an argument between that, is that really the most populous state or city in Nigeria? Well, a lot of people argue that actually it seems like Lagos is the most populous state or city in Nigeria as well. Well, as they normally say in Lagos, they say Eko Nibaje, which means, well, I don't know the translation, but I know I pronounce it more or less precisely like a Yoruba person. And this time around, well, a lot of people say things are happening in Lagos State. I have the Attorney General of the state and the Commissioner of Justice with us in the studio. Honorable Ipaye, you're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think a lot of people talk about Eko Nibaje. Let me start with that. What does that really mean? Because when people talk about Lagos, they just say, oh, Eko Nibaje.
Well, it's an expression that means in the Yoruba language, Lagos will not go bad. It is a call to all and sundry to do their bit in ensuring that Lagos is always on the upward swing.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria. Well, we know that you studied at University of Lagos, graduated BA degrees history in 1984, and all the way until probably about 2007 when you became a member of the Executive Council in the state. And now, of course, you're the Attorney General. How has that should I call it transformation from being a lecturer as well to, shall I say now, you're an active politician?
Well, a public servant, more like.
Right.
And in a way, being a lecturer in the university is also public service.
Okay. And
somehow, my core engagement has always been with the law. I was teaching law, as you said, from 1992 right up to 2001 when I was invited to assist the then governor of Lagos State,
okay,
working with the then Attorney General of Lagos State, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, as special assistant to the governor. So I did that for 2 years, ending with the first term of the Tinubu administration, right. Then continued as senior special assistant in the same function,
okay,
up until 2007 when the Tinubu regime ended. During that time, I was always taking up the tax issues.
Okay.
Because I used to teach revenue law in the university.
Right.
So Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola appointed me as special advisor, taxation and revenue. And that is the position I held between 2007 and 2011. In 2011, I was appointed Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice.
Wow. Well, actually, you did mention one line that is of interest to many people, taxation.
Yeah.
I guess you're not the man behind all the taxes that we're hearing in Lagos State, because it seems like now they said Lagos State, Eko Nibaje, tax, tax, tax.
Yeah, I'm one of the men and women behind that effort. And I think it's not difficult to explain why tax became such a matter of serious importance in Lagos State. We were in a position where we just couldn't rely on the federal allocations. It would have been impossible for Lagos to sit back, go to Abuja on a monthly basis and take whatever is available and make do. It wasn't going to be possible. We knew we had a population of 18 million then, must be hovering around 20 now. Even though on the national census figures, we were credited with just about half of that.
Yes.
But all the same, we knew the pressures on ground. We knew that we had to generate a lot of revenue if Lagos was to be a livable city. So right from the Tinubu administration, the effort had been on to ensure that we collected as much as we could, that we expanded the tax net, because it used to be that the only people that paid tax were the public servants, salaried employees, who had their taxes deducted at source. So we started the effort of ensuring that even people in the private sector, even the market women, even the vulcanizers, even the...
Is that really
everyone
fair?
contributed. Yeah, it is fair, eminently so, because now everyone has seen clearly the benefits of it. Because it is, in my view, the singular reason why Lagos had been able to make the progress that we have recorded thus far. I mean, we couldn't do it without a lot of money. And if people didn't have to contribute the way they did by way of taxation, I doubt that Lagos will be what it is today. So
you doubt Lagos will be what it is today now. Of course, from the other sources, people will be wondering, for example, now that you're talking about tax, that there's a company, for example, that is collecting the tax on behalf of Lagos State, which then somehow you're making it, a corporate income for that company without going too much into that company. But is that so?
That is a huge misconception, and we've tried over and over again to correct it. Nobody collects tax for Lagos State. All taxes paid in Lagos State are paid directly into state account. So you don't pay your tax to one company and then the company remits the tax to us. No. Everybody pays directly into the accounts, revenue accounts of the state government. In fact, that was one of the earliest tax principles that we adopted. We even stopped cash payments. We stopped payments through intermediaries. We had government accounts in all departments. We made it easy such that you could pay at any branch of any bank. And that is where we needed a consultant. And that's where the misconception stemmed from. The work of the consultant has been to collate the payments. When payments are going into banks from all branches, you know, we found that there were instances of payments not being reported. There were instances, several instances of payments being reported very, very late, you know. And there is time value of money. If you paid ₦1 million to a bank in a branch, and Lagos State does not even get to know about it for 3 months, you know that we have lost considerable value. So we had this company that had the software installed to help to manage, so that on a daily basis we know what is in our accounts. So that is what happens. It still happens today. The only other instance of companies collecting, you can say, on behalf of government is where, in the private sector, where companies are legally obliged to deduct the tax from the wage bill of the organization and remit to government. Then we had consultants also who monitor this, because we had tendencies for companies to deduct and not remit. We had tendencies for some companies to remit far below what they actually deducted. So we had to appoint several consultants to go into these companies, audit them, and we recovered billions and billions in actual due remittances, in penalties, in interest, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
So all of these efforts have brought us to where we are today, that Lagos could be quite self-sufficient in terms of revenue.
Now, of course, you mentioned consultant. Just for the clarification of the viewers and the listeners, this consultant have nothing to do with the party?
No,
or are they directly or indirectly party members?
No.
They're totally independent?
No, they are actually chartered accountants. They are companies I mean, incorporated companies, the routes of which anyone could check. And the system is such that any qualified chartered accounting firm or tax practitioner could apply, and then we give them the brief. There's so many, out there, so it's not a monopoly.
Well, not a monopoly. I'm speaking to the Attorney General of Lagos State, Honorable Ade Ipaye, and of course he's telling us, Eko Onipaje. Two issues of lately in discussion about Lagos State is kidnap, which you have spoken to some people about, and cremation of bodies. Yeah. What is the actual stand of Lagos State in these two things? Okay,
let me start where you started, kidnapping. There had been several cases of kidnapping across the country, and up until very recently, Lagos had been left unscathed, so to say. But lately, we had a few cases, and it had induced what I would call a minor panic, because people suddenly started talking about it, and in fact, I would say that there was an exaggerated view of it. The moment it happened in Lagos, everybody thought that they were unsafe. But I can assure you that at the Security Council, of which I'm a member, along with all of the heads of all security agencies, the police, the army, the Navy, the Air Force, the state security services, we immediately met and drew out an action plan, such that I can report today that most kidnapping cases in Lagos were eventually detected. They were found out because of the concerted effort of the security agencies, and we are prosecuting them. I'm actually taking one of them personally. So we want to make the point that Lagos will not tolerate such a crime, and we will do all that is within our powers to ensure that the culprits are caught and brought to book. And that explains my personal involvement in the prosecution of those offenders.
Yeah. And then the cremation?
Then cremation. Only last week, last Monday, His Excellency signed into law a bill that would authorize cremations in Lagos State. You may say why. It is for several reasons. One, because we've actually had requests for it. Lagos is a cosmopolitan city. We have people resident in Lagos who originated from several parts of the world. We have a large community of Indians, of Asians, and all of these people, to them, it is their preferred mode of disposing of the dead. And then, truth must be told, Lagos is also a cramped place, cramped in the sense that we have the smallest land space of any state in Nigeria, yet we have the largest population. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to manage the cemeteries. And there were people who voluntarily thought they would prefer cremation because they didn't like. There were some good cemeteries, they cost money. There are some other ones which, well, a lot of people may not like to use. And so this law now allows voluntary cremation. Voluntary in the sense that a dead person could have made a will indicating that in the event of his or her death, he or she should be cremated. So once that is shown to us, and once we have also on record that there's no dispute as to cause of death, there's a clear death certificate, all of the preliminaries are cleared, then cremation can go on. Now, one of the purposes of this law is also to establish crematoriums that are properly supervised. So all of the rules, all of the specifications, all of the medical officers that would inspect and make sure that things are done properly are provided for in the law.
Yeah.
And then we also have instances of unclaimed bodies. Unfortunately, in Lagos, you can imagine the kind of population we have. Accidents happen, or dead bodies are sometimes reported to be lying somewhere and they are picked up. If they are unclaimed for a considerable length of time, and instead of doing mass burial, which used to be the thing in the past, we now have the option of cremating such bodies. So, but before that is done,
yes,
notices will be issued, time will be allowed, and it is eventually, if nobody shows interest, that cremation will go on. But what I want to underscore is the fact that it is voluntary, and I'm saying this because I know the religious sensitivities around it. Some people do not like the idea, but it's not for those that don't want it. It's for those that want it.
Yes. But then, of course, you highlighted one point that bodies found, for example, could be cremated.
Yes.
Now, can I just maybe input or ask this in this aspect to say, for example, if the bodies are going to be cremated, could there be a situation where a DNA is actually taken of the body, so that in case at a later stage the families, just by coincidence as well, maybe it's a DNA report that can be put online and then people can check it and then say, oh, the person we're looking for actually is dead and he has been cremated or buried?
Yes, there are provisions in that law. As I said, there are serious preconditions, right. One of which is identification. And the standard where there is no identification possible is to keep tissue samples and label them accordingly. I cannot say sitting here that DNA will be done to every such, but the point is that if there is now a report of someone knowing that, I mean, that dead body, and they can get the tissue sample, which will be preserved for a considerable length of time, and then DNA can be conducted and the determination made as to whether it is indeed the relation of the person who has shown interest.
Or not. Well, thank you very much. One thing we normally do on this program as well is allow people to interact with us. So I think we have a caller. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ade.
Afternoon, sir.
Yeah, this is Ade Ipaye calling from London.
Okay, can you speak a little bit louder, if possible?
Yeah, I think your caller, your guest in the studio, it must be a member of ACN. Am I right?
He's a public servant. What's the question?
Yeah, it's a Attorney General of Lagos. According to what you put, the information you put out today, that ACN, PDP should come and debate with us in the town hall meeting we had today, and it seems not to show up. So, having said that, the issue is talking about the issue of cremation.
Yeah.
What you have said, I think, is a right step in the right direction.
Okay.
Because whoever lives in Lagos, you know that Lagos is very, very small area. And if we must have how to manage the dead ones, this one is a good step in the right direction. Because I live very close to Aton Cemetery. I know what we went through in Yaba area. Because in the area of this mass burial he was talking about, the moment they done mass burial on Tuesday at Aton Cemetery, if you go through Abule Oja axis of Aton Cemetery on a Thursday, Dr. Shirode, I'm telling you, you will never love to what you're going to perceive in there. It's nothing to write home about.
Thank you very much.
All right then.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you.
But let me ask as well. He has talked on the aspect of point of addition onto your comment. The Minister of Information, you will know, they wanted to come to Lagos State some time ago for the Good Governance Tour, and somehow they were not welcome in Lagos State. from your own perspective, what's really the story? Is it because really there's not much for them to Lagos State to say this is it, or because they felt that the federal government actually has done quite a lot in Lagos State? What's the story?
Well, I read in the news that they were not welcome. I'm not sure that they needed to be welcome. Everyone is welcome in Lagos. If they had federal government projects they wanted to show off, I don't think it is possible for the state government to prevent them from accessing those projects or from bringing people around to look at them if that was the intention. We did not actively participate, you could say that, because really we didn't believe in
participate
I mean, if the idea was to have state officials go along and look at projects, no, we actually don't do it that way. I mean, if we had projects and it's not completed, we do go and inspect without making any noise about it. And when it's completed, we do have a handover ceremony where, I mean, the governor sort of gives the project over to the populace in the place. That's what we do. But to talk about a good governance tour, well, I don't see any, if that is how the federal government wants to do it, they could go ahead and do it. I don't think they needed us to assist in that regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before I come back to you, another caller, hello, your name and where you're calling from, please.
Thank you very much, Alista. My name is Francis. Alista, I have this to say. I need to thank you very, very much for bridging the gap, like you said, the Ben TV is about, between Nigeria and the rest of the world, to know what exactly is going on. I'm very, very happy that you are bringing this gentleman here who is representing Lagos State. You know, your last edition on BBS show that was being anchored by Mr. Shegun, and there was one man there as a special guest called Augustine. He was talking about the Ashiwaju, and he was calling him names, which doesn't go on well with me. This is the man that is representing Lagos State. I want him now to open up and tell the whole world who is Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because they are now making noise of this man. And they are saying that he came down to London and in an antique area, he was giving a speech. This is not too good. If people are coming on your show and you are making an effort to make sure that everybody in the world knows about Nigeria, the true story about the whole thing. I don't know Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm a man of my integrity. But when people are talking in this manner, saying that he's the leader of thugs in Lagos, this is an eyesore.
Thank you very much. Let me come back to Honorable. I hope you get it, you got his question.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you want to elaborate on that.
Who is Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu? He was governor of Lagos State between 1999 and 2007. He was credited with a lot of progressive policies, and in Lagos State, quite a number. And he actually finished as governor with a good reputation amongst his peers in Nigeria, because Lagos had and still remains, I mean, the leading states in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of social services. It wouldn't actually be out of place to say that he laid the foundation. The current governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, was actually chief of staff to Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I was special assistant at a time to him on legal matters. I was later senior special assistant on legal matters. And if we talk of, I mean, reform of the justice sector in Nigeria today, there is no way that you wouldn't trace it back to that era. So he's done so much for Lagos. I'm not fully aware of what transpired here or some of the things that he insinuated about. I can only guess. But he, in Lagos, has a good reputation of having left a legacy of good public service in Lagos State.
Okay. Okay, well, you had, I hope that explained to you. Before I take another caller, I have another information here. For example, that said, for Lagos State, you are the attorney and the Commissioner of Justice. The cases, seems like there's as many cases as the population of Lagos. What are you doing to reduce the number or to mediate and solve a lot of the cases in the courts?
Yeah, we're doing a lot. To start with, we have the largest courts in Nigeria. We have today 56 High Court judges. We have 105 magistrates across the state. So our court system is large, and part of the purpose is, of course, to deal with the large number of cases that come on. But we are not relying entirely on that. We also run the largest citizens mediation center in Nigeria, the first and now the largest citizen mediation center. And that is under my ministry, the State Ministry of Justice. And I can tell you that in the past year, around 3,000 cases were mediated by trained mediators. We have trained mediators. We have offices spread across the state. Anyone could petition the office, and the office will invite the adverse party, and they will sit around and try to get the case resolved. In that way, a lot of cases were resolved. A lot of grievances were solved, and that, of course, takes a lot of weight off the regular court system. We also have what is called the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. So attached to the court system itself is an ADR system, Alternative Dispute Resolution Center, attached to the court. And what that means is that even if you have sued in court, there is the possibility along the line of your case being referred for mediation, for conciliation, or for arbitration. That is why in our civil procedure rules, we have what is called a pre-trial conference before we actually go into the trial. The judge meets in an informal setting with the parties and their counsel. And in that session, a determination is made as to which aspects of the dispute can be resolved and which aspects really have to go on, to trial. So we have all these structures in place to ensure that we don't just push cases into the court system, congest it, and then get the system stuck.
Wow. Well, that's Lagos, and they say, I have another caller. Hello, your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon, Mr. Shoyere.
Good afternoon, sir.
And I'm saying also good afternoon to our dear gentleman that is with you, Mr. Ade.
Good afternoon.
So you are really welcome, sir. God bless.
Thank you very much.
I'm also from Lagos State, from a local government, Eredu local government. It has been a long time that I've not been in Nigeria, but last year, December, I was able to be in Nigeria, just, do one, two things. And from Calabar, driving from Calabar to Lagos, so I see a lot of different kind of roads and all those kind of things like that. But when I was in Lagos, with those few days that I stay in Lagos, I moved also to Lagos Island to Central Bank, which I see all those areas so beautiful. And I just saw that what you just showed now a little bit now, that those construction in all those areas, that's so beautiful. But what about the inside, all those other local government from Korodu, from Badagry area and so on? If you go into all those other local government, when you enter inside, you cannot even drive inside at all. We don't need to be showing just ordinary, how can I call it, all those normal area that people can see that, wow, fantastic. What about the inside? When the inside is totally destroyed, and those people that living inside there, they will be going to their mechanic every 3 days or 4 days. How do you think that those people that can be able to survive with their salary? One, Then the second one, because Mr. Shuade asked a question now, he asked you a question, sir, that why that the minister, that the information minister wanted to come to Lagos State and he was denied. Is it normal for him to just bring himself without the idea or without the knowledge of the Lagos State and the invitation of the Lagos State to accept him? So please, can you address that area very, very well? Because I don't think that area is very, very clear, sir. That you say that, oh, the federal government can just come on their own or bring their own idea. Please, sir, please address that area very well.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe I should start in that area. I repeat what I said before, that no federal agency or official needs the express permission of the state government to come to Lagos to access federal projects, to inspect, to launch, to do whatever. We, of course, exchange information as a matter of courtesy, but if the news is that someone was denied entry into Lagos or shot out of Lagos, that cannot be right. It's in the same way I cannot be shot out of Abuja. Every one of us can move freely across the country. And I hope that resolves that particular question. The other one about the roads, we need to just clarify something. With the kind of revenues that we get, nobody is making any pretension that all of the roads in Lagos State can be done and in perfect condition. It's not possible. Then it is wrong to say that there is total neglect, or to suggest that there is total neglect of the inner roads. It isn't so. And road projects are going on all across the state. You see, but in terms of logic of construction, you know, if you have the option to do Road A and Road B, and Road A is the one that links several communities together, is an arterial road, one that most people are likely to come onto. You would want to do that first before you do the connecting road. So there is a logic about the way you spread the roadworks. But that notwithstanding, I'm sure of what I'm saying, that there is no local government you get into today that you won't have several road constructions going on. We only can take so much, and we have to do it gradually. But it's wrong to say or to suggest that we are only concentrating on the metropolitan areas. No. We are mindful of that, and we are consciously spreading the roadworks.
Well, good you explained to the viewers, especially because they're all Lagosians as well. Now, what is so unique about Lagos to you?
A lot. Lagos, in the context of Nigeria, is very unique. Very unique in the sense that, let us take some statistics. Around 60% of industrial and commercial activities in Nigeria take place or originate in Lagos. If you are going to have international departures, over half will be from Lagos. International arrivals, you are talking about 60–65% into Lagos. So in spite of Lagos not being the capital of Nigeria anymore, it is still the nerve center, the commercial nerve center. It is the place where anyone coming from anywhere in the world is likely to get to. It is the, you know, we have the largest, busiest port, both airport and seaport. And still, it is the smallest state in Nigeria. So it is vibrant in the sense that we are host to people from all over the country and from all over the world. If you are talking of a mixed population, there's no community in Nigeria that is not represented in Lagos. So Lagos is a mini Nigeria. Are you
a real Lagosian?
Yes, I am.
So which means your parents, grandparents are all Lagosians?
Yes.
Okay. Wait, so it's very hard to come across a so unique maybe 2 generations somebody that is really Lagosian.
Yes, but it exists.
It is. Well,
yes.
Here you are, you have already shown that indeed there are people who are absolutely Lagosians. One thing you highlighted, for example, is that Lagos used to be the hub, but is somehow the commercial center of Nigeria presently.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it's because then they were the capital, so they're still gaining from that? And will you see that kind of thing happening in Abuja in maybe 20 years to come?
It's unlikely. Lagos will still be Lagos. Abuja will be Abuja. You see, the reason why Lagos was capital was because of it was contiguous to the sea. You can't trade that. You can't change that. That remains the case. And then if you have so many having invested in Lagos, having established businesses in Lagos, it's not unlikely that they can be readily persuaded, to move elsewhere. They will spread inevitably, but the core will remain where it is, in my view. So, fortunately, we've been blessed with good governance. We've been blessed with extremely good management of the affairs of Lagos, and I can only hope that if the trend continues in that way, Lagos will gain even greater importance in Africa. I mean, looking beyond even Nigeria, because Lagos compares in terms of population, in terms of revenue, in terms of industrial activities with countries, other African countries, not just states in Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
Yeah.
Now, before we take another caller, let me find out, what is the relationship between Lagos State and Ogun State, who happened to box you into that corner? Because some of the building infrastructure are kind of in Ogun State, but their resources is being taken, according to the news, by Lagos State. So how do you explain that? I think
the perspective has changed somewhat. Okay. The expression, the metaphor of boxing in, we don't feel boxed in at all.
Right.
We're probably boxing out, Inevitably, I mean, Lagos, as it gets congested, the city, the metropolis will spread. Mm-hmm. And there is even a concept of a Lagos-Ogun mega city now, because inevitably activities...
Ogun as an Ogun State mega city
yes,
together.
Because the Lagos city is growing such that you are having people, even resident in Ogun, working in Lagos and vice versa. So the boundaries are sort of being obliterated.
Will you then pay tax to
by that? Oh, the laws are clear. You pay tax to the state in which you live, not where you work. Okay, but we see an interesting trend such that there are some factories in Ogun State where the management staff live in Lagos. There are a lot of people even working in Ogun State, whether in the public service or private, that live in Lagos. And then we have a lot of people working in Lagos, usually the more junior staff who live in Ogun State, because it's cheaper.
The junior staff?
Yeah, because it's cheaper.
The senior can't afford to be in Lagos, right?
Yeah. So it's vice versa. We have management staff of companies in Ogun State who live in Lagos, and we have junior staff of companies in Lagos that live in Ogun, because it's cheaper to get accommodation across the board. So we are intertwined, we are integrated. Fortunately, we are brothers. We are all in the same party now. So there's no competition, really. We will grow together.
Okay, that's good. Well, for people in Ogun State, the Gateway State, you can hear he said you will grow together. At least for now, you're in the same boat. Talking of being in the same boat or growing together, what is the situation about this Eco-Atlantic city? Is it the Eco-Atlantic city when you're claiming the sea back, and the sea, you're sure the sea will not fight back?
Well, the issue of the sea, well, you can look at it that way. The sea would always fight. But now, the thing to understand about Eco-Atlantic City is that it is our attempt to reclaim what was part of Lagos State. those of our generation can tell some of the stories, but our fathers can tell even more of the story, that the Bar Beach they knew was farther off than the one we have now. And the sequence of events that led to the idea of Eco-Atlantic City was such that even the Atlantic was had taken over the road, the Ahmadu Bello, and then was threatening or usually overrunning properties across the road. So it was really eating into Victoria Island. And there were efforts to sandfill. Billions of naira were spent on sandfilling, and we had nothing to show for it. And then the construction works that were now done, which has stemmed it, so we don't have the road being overrun anymore. And the logical thing is now to push back. Okay, but the beauty of the Atlantic City is that it is planned. We already know that what we are confronted with. So all of the technical and mechanical measures that ought to be taken to ensure that we have boundaries that will be unassailable have been put in place now. And it is nothing new. I mean, the people working on that project have worked elsewhere. So really, we are confident. All of the tests were done, and we are confident that it will be a livable city and very well protected. And
expectation,
so on and so
when do you think people will start moving in?
I think in a very few years, not long from now. I know a lot of people, a lot of companies had bought properties there, and now that the first phase has been delivered, the next thing is to see construction going on. So I would say that in a year or two, I don't want to be quoted on the timetable issue, but knowing that people had bought, companies had bought properties there, and the part that they bought had been delivered, I expect that construction will start coming off the ground in a year or two.
Okay. Well, as we begin to round up, let me quickly ask as well that as construction has been taking place in that place, and do you have any fear if another party comes in might not continue with that project? Because that's one problem that we have in Nigeria, continuation of projects.
Well, let me first assure you that another party is not coming. So. but jokes apart, I think we are also realistic people, no matter which party we find ourselves in. There are certain things you can discontinue and roll back. There are certain things that are too far gone, really. And this is largely a private sector-led effort. So it's not as if government is committing a huge portion of its revenues to it, and it is choking government. So really, it is not a problem for government, whether it is the current party or any. It won't be a problem for the government. So I don't foresee anyone just deciding to abandon that effort. You can see how far it had gone.
Fine. Rounding out, a few more minutes to finish. Sunborn, you're the Commissioner of Justice. You know the Sunborn.
Yeah.
What actually happened, and what is the position of that floating boat in Lagos State? Because
the Sunborn yacht, we've said it over and over and over again that
it took place
the Lagos State government had not a penny in that
project
venture. But let me tell you how it happened, because I was there. A proposal was brought to the governor, and as he usually did, he asked that it be presented to the Executive Council. I was in that Executive Council. It was presented. Some private sector investors brought the idea of getting a luxury yacht which will be bathed around the marina, and it will be a hotel, it will be a tourist attraction, it will sort of generate a lot of interest, and we thought, yeah, why not? So what did they want from us? They wanted cooperation as a government. They were bringing this in. They couldn't just bring it, you know, and then we get to know the day it is brought to shore. So they wanted also permission to put it where they eventually did, and so on and so forth. And then we just established a Ministry of Tourism. And so the Commissioner for Tourism was asked to work with them to just facilitate the delivery of this project. Right. We were not venture partners. We were at no time asked to contribute any part of the cost and so on. So the commissioner was involved as a facilitator, you know, just to show government cooperation, to assist and so on. But unfortunately, no sooner was the yacht brought to shore than controversies arose amongst the various investors. And unfortunately, then the structure was more or less abandoned, and people began to pilfer things there. You could see that it was going bad, and everybody was sad about it. I hear now, I'm not sure, that they had resolved. They had actually now taken it away for repairs and so on. But that's the story. It was never a yacht that belonged to Lagos State, either in whole or in part.
Okay. Well, you heard it. You guys that have been on the Sunborn Yacht here in Docklands, East London. Of course, quite a lot of parties have taken place by Nigerians on that yacht. So, on the last round, Honorable, your governor, Raji Fashola, SAN, is a member of the New Emerging APC. He is a member of the Nigerian Governors Forum, and surely, you know, you've been on Antony and the Commissioner of Justice. He must have kind of a brief you, either as a friend or as a member of the executive, what maybe took place in that NGF. And of course, the guy who won happened to have the support of, surely, the ACN and the other members. Other man of legal standing in Nigeria, what would be your take on this as we close our session with you?
Well, I think it's just an unfortunate incident. Luckily, we don't have to speculate as to what happened there. Even if he didn't tell me, he did, actually. We watched the video. Someone filmed it, and everyone saw that there was, after some argument, an agreement to actually vote. All of the 35 governors that were there cast their votes, but unfortunately the tally went the other way. I mean, other than the way expected by the ruling party, because they had had an earlier meeting at which all of the PDP governors were supposed to have backed someone. And if all of them did, we wouldn't have had the result that we had. But I would have thought that now that things turned out the way they did, people should have just let them be and just manage the situation. After all, the man that won belonged to the PDP. Yeah. But I guess, and that's why I say it was unfortunate, some people couldn't just live with the idea. And now they've sort of split up the forum, as far as I can see. I can only hope that they are able to resolve it in the interest of the country, because I don't think we should be hung up about who leads the governors forum, who doesn't. After all, they are all governors, and the essence of their meeting is to generate ideas for the development of Nigeria. So does it matter really who chairs that meeting, you know? So I do hope that they resolve. It's an embarrassing impasse
for Nigeria. Well, as I said, Nigeria, good people, great nation. And they said in Lagos, Eko Nibaje, 20+ million people, still growing and governed by the largest party in the southwest of Nigeria, which is the ACN. And it's a pleasure to have the Attorney General of the state and the Commissioner of Justice, Honorable Ade Ipaye, with us. And I hope what he has shared with us has been very enlightening to you guys. And so don't forget, he did say 60% of traveling into Nigeria start and end in Lagos State, Ikeja. Your last word to the Nigerian community in Europe.
Well, that we have a great country, and if we all play our part, contribute whatever we can at every opportunity that we have, we can make it even better still. I think Nigeria has the potential of being among the best in the world.
Well, Nigeria has the potential of being the best among many countries in the world. And you know, anywhere you see 4 or 5 black people, 1 or 2 is a Nigerian. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Goodbye for now, and God bless.